Hey guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley, and I got a really cool episode here for you today. I'm speaking to Sian Thomas, who went from an internationally renowned mathematician to what I've written down here as a transformational, holistic healing coach and around the world of Reiki. An amazing story. It's a long podcast because I wanted to take my time telling this lady's story, and that's what this podcast is all about. It's all about telling your stories, people. I've been doing this for a long time, for many episodes, and I love it. I really do. So I'm not going to apologize for the 1 hour and 40 minutes of this podcast. It's a story for you to delve into and to disappear into while you're doing the dishes, while you're driving to work, while you're doing the gardening, or whatever it is you do when you listen to these amazing podcasts. I got some great news, guys. So obviously I've explained on the last episode, I've been away for a while, training for a new job, been on holiday, doing lots of other things. But I'm back, of course, planning new podcasts. It's cool. But in the meantime, we've been nominated, shortlisted, should I say, for a lifestyle podcast independent award, which means there's 6 podcasts on this shortlist of lifestyle podcasts, and we're in that. So we are one of the top 6. We're in the top 6 independent lifestyle podcasts in the UK. How amazing is that? That's the Shrewsbury Biscuit represented on a UK scale. I'm so excited. I'm so humbled to be. I mean, like, there's lots of podcasts that have been, considered for this, and we're in the top 6, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I want to say, obviously, thank you to sponsors at Web Orchard for always believing in us. I want to say thank you to my wife, family, and all the friends that have supported us. To Stuart Woodings at Shropshire Business Suite for giving us a space. For Vix as well for being an amazing co-host over the last few weeks, months. To Ant McGinley, huge shout out to Ant McGinley, who is a podcast OG, a friend of mine. He's been on the podcast before. He's been on lots of my podcasts. He's helped me out. I've done voice roles for his audio dramas and podcasts before. It's a creative partnership that's gone on for many years, and we've never met, but he's going to be at the award. So hopefully this is going to be a good opportunity for us to meet in London. I'm so over the moon by this. I really am. I needed a bit of good news. I kept on going, chipping away, and this is fantastic. So thank you to the guy from the awards for shortlisting us, and there'll be I guess instructions on how we can, give us the best chance of winning this award, because that would be amazing, wouldn't it? I mean, the fact that I'm nominated is wonderful. It really, really is. When people say Emmy nominated or Grammy nominated, I can say that now. So let's just see how it goes. But thank you for getting us this far. This podcast is amazing. It's awesome. Stick around at the end. I'll let you know what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Sian Thomas, and she's got a great story. So I'll leave you to it. Here is Sian. Enjoy. Hi guys, great episode for you today, because today is a day about discovery. I like to tell people stories. It's on the Shrewsbury Biscuit. We do talk a lot of businesses. We just had Chris Shirk on, who's selling a book, but he's got an amazing story too. I want to tell people some stories that have fascinating twists and turns, and I feel like today's guest has definitely got a twist and turn in her tale, and that's Sian Thomas. How are you? You all right?
I'm very well, thank you.
I joined a group. It's a funny one, because when you've been doing this for as long as I have, you get very cautious about joining groups. Like what I joined, I think it was which one was it? It was the Shropshire Sellers, not Shropshire Sellers. It was one of those groups where people are trying to talk about things. There's a What's On group, and I was like, I do a podcast very quietly, because if you go in with links and loud, I've got this thing, usually it gets shut down straight away. But I wanted to introduce myself, basically to reach out and find people with interesting stories. And Sian, you got in touch, and you're like, I went from a internationally recognized mathematician to a Reiki healer, right?
Correct.
And I was like, yes, get on the podcast right away, because that's quite a transition.
Massive transition. Absolutely massive. And I wouldn't even go as far as I'm just a Reiki healer, but that's now part of my new toolbox. I'm doing my Reiki Masters training this autumn.
So from Padawan to Master.
Yeah.
That's the Star Wars phone. You get that if you're a geek like me.
There you are. So yeah, the last few weeks of my life has basically shown me that I have to do this next level to be able to rein my energies back in and move forward with some power.
And I love that, because when we're I mean, we'll get into your background in a sec, but like when we go for education, when we go for education system, we're taught that the thing we train for in school and the thing you want to, I mean, for me, it's different because I didn't go to a university or college. I've kind of just been a free range human being, I guess. I don't know. But like when you go to university with a specific goal in mind of what you want to do and what you want to be in the courses you do in university, you're kind of taught to stick with that, right? That's kind of like tradition.
It is, but when I went to university, I started studying architecture.
Oh, really? I
did. I never, ever wanted to. I never even had an inkling that I was going to go into education in my life.
What drew you to architecture? What was the kind of the draw for you there?
Okay, so I am 100% a maths geek. There's no doubt about that. And that will never change. But also, I have an artistic background as well. So I study maths, art, and physics as my A-levels. But maths and art was my thing. I see everything through mathematics. And
really?
Everything. Every single thing I see through mathematics.
So you're like Neo with the Matrix.
I see everything. You know what I mean? I can't go anywhere without seeing geometry or, patterns.
So everything looks like an IKEA flat pack for you.
It is literally in my system.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So the art itself then brings out the visual understanding of the mathematics. And I love buildings. I love art. So it was sort of natural for me to fall into a study of architecture or engineering of some kind. And then I went to Manchester to study architecture. And after a year dropped out because he was like, nah, I'm not doing 7 years of this. I cannot do 7 years of this. It was too arty, not enough maths. I was like, I had a great time. Don't get me wrong. It was 1989. I was in Manchester.
Yeah. Out there partying. Yeah.
Partying, absolutely. So I got as much work as I could done. But by the end of the first year, I was looking for something else to do.
And that's your gosh darn right. You got to be able to. I know architects. Camilla Monk has been on the podcast. She's amazing. My good friend, big shout out to Eric Fluger and he said California. Then completely wrong. He's from Florida. He's a famous artist because he used to do art for Kevin Smith for the Hollywood Babylon comic books and Ralph Garman. So he would do like his art is so precise. And he's an architect, but he's more of an artist. But like you see his architect work, and then you see his art that he loves, and that's the difference. Is like when he's doing a job for architecture, it's precise. When he's doing his art that he loves, it's what he. You know what I mean? Like there's that you can see the difference.
Absolutely.
And I guess with you, as the flip side, you didn't want to focus on the art; you wanted to focus on the maths.
On the maths, exactly. So towards the end of that first year, then had to decide what on earth am I going to do next. I looked into engineering and I thought, I don't think I want to do that either. So I sort of had this idea that at the end of a degree, I wanted to be able to walk into some work. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I decided to retrain as a teacher with a maths focus. So I left Manchester, I moved to Worcester, and I did a 4-year B.Ed in mathematics. Coming out as a fully qualified primary school teacher with a maths background. So I've got, part of a degree in maths as part of my B.Ed, but also I'm a trained teacher.
And then, was working kids always part of the plan?
Never.
No?
Never.
And how did you take to that? Was it like a duck to water?
Absolutely. Natural as anything. I love children.
Yeah?
I don't have my own children. I love children. They're fab.
Yeah.
They are so much fun. They're so creative. And if you teach them in the right way, they can learn anything. Anyone can learn maths. Anyone can learn maths.
Maths has never been my strong point. I got an F in maths, my GCSE.
Do you know what? I was going to call that I was going to have an Instagram handle, which was F in maths, for two different reasons, clearly.
F in maths. But I feel like I'm all right with maths. I can get by. I feel like the F in maths was more of a, I wasn't really doing school towards the end. I was going through some struggles, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that happened in my last year in school that made me sort of focus away from my education. I wanted to make my own path, and that's probably not the right thing, but I feel like I'm more street smart, but like I feel like when you're right, I feel like when it comes to maths, I feel like if you just focus in the right way,
if you're taught the right way,
yeah,
you will be able to learn it. If you were taught through your interests, you will learn maths.
Absolutely.
Curriculum doesn't do that.
The curriculum's I mean, when it comes to school, I feel like they're teaching things in school that they were teaching me in the same methods, and I'm thinking, surely like time's moved on since then. Why are they still doing things exactly the same? Surely there's no. Do you feel like that the curriculums were sort of like throwing in a bit of innovation, maybe?
The curriculum is not fit for purpose for the children of our future in any way, shape, or form, and I was trying to make that difference in my job. And hitting my head against a brick wall, hence why I just threw everything up in the air in 2019 and walked out.
Really? There's a lot of discussion. I mean, I've talked to teachers before. I've talked about education, and a lot of things. When I you saw yesterday, I sometimes put feelers out on Facebook about how people are feeling about a certain thing. But when I talk about education, one of the things that pops up the most is that why are we not teaching kids how to pay bills? Why are we not teaching kids life skills and how to find a job and write? I did this a bit of CV work and stuff, but like life skills, they're the most important things, right?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. And that curriculum does not teach you anything that will be useful for your future life.
Yeah.
And I was trying to change it and trying to make it more real and going in and training teachers. I've trained tens of thousands of teachers, and bringing in real life, teaching visually. All the stuff that I know works, but it wasn't getting through because schools have got a curriculum to cover, they've got exams to pass, and you've got a government system forcing leaders into getting the best exam results ever. So the teaching goes like this.
Yeah, so it clams up and it's like...
Any creativity is out of the window, generally. There are a lot of schools out... I say a lot of schools. There are schools out there who are doing the right thing.
I feel like, there are definitely schools in Shrewsbury. I'm not going to start naming some, but, there are schools out there that are kind of like having a bit more of a free range approach to sort of homework and the way that they do these things. But there are obviously schools out there that don't do that. I mean, my son's school, they don't do homework. They do reading, which I think is really important. Read, because that's very important. But he's going to go to secondary school and it's going to be homework. And I do worry about that process from going from that to that. I think it's going to be a lot. I think the first few weeks are going to be very difficult. Well, maybe you'll lap it up. I don't know.
What if I told you all the research says the homework makes no difference?
I learned that in a Rick and Morty episode. The whole point of homework is to do less.
Yeah. John Hattie studied thousands and thousands. He did meta research into what makes education successful, and homework is right down that list.
Oh, wow.
Particularly in primary schools.
I just think it's mad. Kids go to school, they work a 6-hour day, and then they've got to do more work when they go home. And then, yeah, it's different.
It's too much in a curriculum in primary schools. It needs to be brought right back and taught through children's interests.
Yeah.
You've got 10 subjects of primary school teachers teaching in primary school. And none of it fits in with each other. It's 10 separate subjects. In the best schools, they merge it all together and teach it through topics and real life.
Do you know what? I went to school at Lady Grove in Dawley. These books here is because we just had Chris Shirk on the podcast, and that book there that says Now That's What I Call Shrewsbury is written by David Trumper, who he's a famous Shrewsbury historian, photographer, and he wrote a lot of books like that. But he was my teacher in Lady Grove. and he had us doing these amazing projects. And I always remember I've got this obsession with Heidelberg in Germany. That's because when we were younger, he was like, today kids, what we're going to do is we're going to plan a trip to Heidelberg, like a theory trip, right? He's like, from the school right to where we're going to be going, you are going to plan a trip. So he had us looking at motorway routes, he had us booking parking, he had us looking at hotels, and he made us book this theoretical trip to Germany and back. And we had different people working on different things. I always remember that, because that was like, you can tell that was not like a curriculum style lesson. That was something he thought of, like, this could be a really good lesson for the kids. And we were in year 5 and 6. I can't remember if it was 5 or 6 because I'm old, right? But it was definitely
as old as me.
But it was one of those things, those lessons that I always remember, because it was so out so far left field, and it was so out of the box that I was kind of like, this is great, like, and I've never forgotten it. Absolutely.
Now, I did all of my teaching in North London. So I grew up in the valleys of South Wales. I'm a coal miner's daughter. I left at 18. No one else went to university. And then after Worcester, I moved to London to start my teaching career. And as you said, with regards to planning imaginary trips, we used to go on day trips because I lived in London, worked in London.
Yeah.
So we'd go into London on day trips. We'd go out to London on day trips. I didn't plan any of those. I got my class to plan them.
Yeah.
Because you learn the maths, you learn the you learn the timetabling, you learn structure, you learn where everything is in London, you learn the routes, you learn geography, history, everything in one fell swoop. And then they embed it because they're interested. What other way would you actually teach anything?
Exactly. And, my wife is like the best trip planner you'll ever meet. Honestly, we go on these EDTs, extreme day trips. We went to Paris, we've been to Milan, we're planning other trips as well. We've been to loads of places around the UK, but like she'll be like, right, we got parking, we've got this place, we're going to be this restaurant. She'll write an itinerary. She'll write down a kind of vague idea of what she wants, chuck it into ChatGPT. It'll come back with a full itinerary, and it'll tell exactly where you want to go. And then we should just take bits out. It's a very clever way of planning a trip. Like, she's like a regimental sergeant major.
And AI is fabulous.
Oh yeah, for stuff like that, I think it's amazing. For ripping people's art off, that's a different kind of ball game. But when it comes
intelligently, you can use that.
Yeah. What I tended to do when I used to be very artsy with a lot of my artwork, especially with the old podcast network. I used to be called You Suck, US UK, and I used to be. We used to have 5 different podcasts that needed different styles of artwork for each podcast, and I would sit there, and what I would do is I would get a piece of art, I'd throw it onto Affinity, I would then get a pen tool and go over it and make my own style of art. So I'd almost trace over this art, and then by the end of it I'd have this beautiful piece of art that I'd made. And I'm not an artist, but it's very easy to do.
What's an artist?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, you can repurpose bits of art into your own style. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting thing. So when you're in school, by the way, when you've been there for a while and you're seeing fresh new teachers coming off the university conveyor belt, I imagine, and they're coming with these fresh faces, and they're teaching the same things you learned or you were taught to teach when you came out of university, was that a strange experience for you because you've settled into your own routine and you're doing your own thing, and you're seeing these new teachers coming off the conveyor belt, and they're sticking to this strict curriculum? Was that hard for you to see?
Do you mean when I was still teaching?
Yes. When you've been teaching for a long time.
Okay, well, I only taught for 9 years, and then I went out. So was it difficult for me to see her? Well, I suppose I worked in 2 schools in North London. In my first school, I worked for 2 years. So, and it was a school with 4 form entry in North London. So we're talking, 120 children per year. So there's nearly 500 children in this junior school.
Wow.
Exactly. And as I was only there for 2 years, so I couldn't really comment on that. But then I left to get my second job, where I was there for 7 years working under an outstanding leader who is still to this day one of the best head teachers I've ever seen in my life. But luckily, because when I was in that school, within a year, I was in charge of maths across the whole school. In my first job, I was in charge of maths in my second year of teaching in a 4-form entry primary school. So I was literally on a mission already. But they may have come out of university like that, but then I was training them. So within my environment, they came with all the stuff straight out of university, but then I was allowing them to see that they could use their interests and their creativity to actually teach the children in a way that would engage them and embed the understanding.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't really see it because I was training them.
Yeah. So you kind of, yeah, that's good. It's nice to have a nurturing person to walk into a new job into that can give you those kind of tips, because I can imagine it's very easy to go a little bit too far with your own ideas and maybe a little bit too strict with the curriculum. You've got to find that right balance, right?
Absolutely. And clearly, when leaving that job and becoming a consultant, which I'm sure we'll go into, it was a different ball game because I was working with hundreds and thousands of schools then. So that's different.
Okay, so going from being a teacher to a mathematics consultant, first of all, the simple question is going to be, what is a mathematics consultant? I understand what a doctor consultant is, maybe an artist consultant, but a mathematics consultant.
What is it? Brilliant. Right, so a maths consultant. So my first job as a maths consultant was working for Barnet Local Authority in North London, which has, 90 primary schools and about 30 secondary schools. It's grown since then. There are more now. And my job as a maths consultant was to train teachers. So train newly qualified teachers, train teachers in post, primary initially, because most primary school teachers do not have a maths background. So there's a lot of maths training that they can get to make sure that their maths teaching is as good as it can be.
That makes sense, yeah.
So there was a lot of teacher training, as I said, newly qualified, teachers in place, and subject leaders and heads of department. And of course, senior leadership teams as well. In addition to that, I'd go into schools, generally the schools that needed support. So if a school had gone into special measures or serious weaknesses, I would be part of a team going in. I'd be the maths consultant, there'd be others, and we'd work as a team to develop the whole of teaching and learning together.
I'm a bit like Gordon Ramsay goes into a failing restaurant. You go into a school
and help to get it out of where it's gone into.
Would you ever have to be like, what are you doing? Why are you teaching that? Like, were there ever situations like that?
There were times when I was just absolutely in disbelief of what I was actually seeing in front of me. Because I'd gone from an outstanding school with outstanding leadership. And I can remember the first school I was put into. It had gone into special measures on every single count.
Wow.
Right, so I'd gone. December, I'd left my school. December 2003, I'd left my outstanding school where I'd got it up here. And they were flying to the point that in one Ofsted in my primary school, I couldn't make the Ofsted because my mother had died.
Oh.
All right. But the head teacher then had to have the interview with the Ofsted inspector on my behalf with all my stuff. And the school at that point came out with good all over, apart from outstanding in maths. I hadn't even been there.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
So you left your trace on that.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, well, we're fine. So going into this first school, which had gone into special measures on every single count, one was a bit daunting, to say the least, because it's like, where do you start if there is nothing right?
Yeah.
But then meeting the head and the deputy, who thought it was funny, was even more frustrating. At the time, I was 32 years old.
So you walk in and you go, there's your problem right away.
And I'd gone in with my line manager, who was the primary manager. So she was in charge of all the primary consultants. She was also a maths consultant who had trained me. You know what I mean, previously.
Yeah.
And as I came out to the school, I went, what have you brought me into? And she went, this is the worst situation you could be in.
How do you solve a problem like that, though, in schools? Because, like, we've all seen the cliche movie teacher that's kind of lost his get up and go. He's kind of like sat there with a cup of coffee. Yeah, whatever, kid. We've seen those scenes in movies. But, like, those are I wouldn't say the backbone of a school, but they are those experienced teachers are kind of like, well, keep the school going. How do you get rid of that? How do you change that? How do you nurture that into something positive?
Well, I'd gone in with a team. Let me think. So I'd gone in with a team. There was myself. There was an English consultant. There was a consultant that was in charge of the schools in the more in the poorer areas. So she was the excellence in city consultant. Phenomenal. And then I had the school's network inspector and my boss, who was the primary manager. So we all went in as a whole team. And the local authority level literally removed the head teacher and all bar one of the staff.
Wow. So we're just going to completely, yeah, all right.
Oh my goodness. Within 6 months, there was a whole new staff apart from one person. Because the school had gone into special measures, they weren't allowed to take on newly qualified teachers. That had to change because you couldn't have got teachers in there without doing it. So we had to take the risk and put 2 newly qualified teachers in there as well, but they were getting supported and mentored by people from the local authority. So, you know what I mean? But as a team going in there, wow.
Because you got to be sensitive with it as well, haven't you? Because there's kids. There are kids there. You mean, like, you rip the guts out of a school while the kids are there. It must be heartbreaking for them.
Heartbreaking for them, but at the same time, they were now able to feel safe because that place was not a safe place to be for those children. It was in probably the most deprived, one of the 2 most deprived areas of Barnet. And they'd literally been failed for years, these children. You know, these are children at the end of the day, and they deserve an education. And they came from backgrounds that were challenging enough before going into school, where they were being not taught, blamed. The head teacher would avoid the parents and the children. Yeah,
it's not good, is it? Yeah. And that's one of the things that was brought up in the pandemic, wasn't it? Is that a lot, I mean, this is a dour subject, but I think it needs to be talked about. It's like during the pandemic, kids were getting depressed because school was their safe place to go away from home. It was a place where they can go and get meals, which is what was spurred the Marcus Rashford move, which I can't understand for the life of me why people thought this was a negative thing. I don't want to get into that, but like the whole ether, the fact that kids go to school as a break away from home just breaks my heart. Do you know what I mean? So when they go into a school,
I know that feeling.
Yeah,
go there.
Yeah,
another time, absolutely.
But I'm a council estate brat. Yeah, we've been through some difficult times as a family, and I can feel that. You know, I know that there are safe places for us all to go, but when that's taken away from you because of situations like you're explaining, then what do kids have left? I mean, they must feel quite desperate for them. You know?
Yeah, and it was a junior school, so these children were 7 to 11.
Yeah,
and a lot of them, it was just feral. The whole place was, the children were still trying to escape across walls from the school back into the estate. You know, you were being sworn at, people being attacked by 7 to 11-year-olds.
Oh my God.
We had 2 behaviour specialists in there. It was an immense experience, but as I said, I'd gone from something that was outstanding. And don't get me wrong, where I taught, the school I taught in, was half in the other estate. There was in the top 2 of Barnet, being the most deprived, and also the other half of where the children were coming from were millionaires, city people. So it was literally
one extreme to the other.
The other, and North London. You've got many, many different nationalities and cultures in your class as well. So you've got refugee children from Afghanistan. You've got children from the estate. You've got children whose parents own, multi-million-pound businesses. It was brilliant. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And I can imagine that as I would say a baptism of fire, but that's from that's your first sort of role in that job. You must get a bit between your teeth, and you get stuck in, and you create something special out of something bad, and then you go on to another job and another. I guess every single job leaves an internal legacy for you to work with, right?
Yeah, that was and it took about 2 years to get that school out of special measures it didn't become good for about 3 years because that was a massive process to go from absolutely nothing. Some of the teachers that had to be removed, well, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Blaming children. I demonstrate a lesson, so I'd stand up there and show them how they could teach a maths lesson, and the teacher would be shouting at me, telling me I couldn't speak to the children. I was like, sorry, please be quiet while I'm showing you how you could possibly teach your class. They were, screaming at the children while I was trying to teach. Some of them were trying to throw me under a bus so I couldn't actually teach the class. It was nothing like I've experienced before. But I grew up in the valleys of South Wales. I'm not going to give up on anything. I mean, it's like the children were important, and that was the bottom line of all of it.
Do you see any differences in teachers from different generations? Is there a generational difference between, like, I don't know, the teachers that taught me, taught you, and now are now teaching kids today?
It's difficult. The teachers who were removed from that school were older than me. So I was 32 in my first maths consultant's job. They were in their 40s and 50s, and they'd been in that school forever. And they were just all the wrong people. They shouldn't have been in front of children, in my opinion, because they didn't seem to even like them.
Yeah.
If I tell you that 2 of those teachers were told they were never allowed to teach in the Borough of Barnet again, that says a lot, really.
And I've met teachers that don't like kids. I have genuinely met. I'm not going to mention them on the podcast, of course. But I know people out there that I just tolerate it, but I like teaching. But but I always remember the teachers. So I come from a background of 9.5 years of support work, but one of my greatest strengths and skills is to be able to listen to people. That's why this is important for me, right? Listen to people. These are human beings. They're individuals with their own stories. And I feel like the teachers that I remember the most are the ones that would sit and listen to you. We used to have this teacher, as a science teacher. I went to I'm not going to mention the school. It was in Wrexham. And we had many different teachers, but we had this one teacher who would just get absolutely ruined by some of the kids. They'd be rude to him and stuff, but it would just blow over him like it wouldn't be absolutely fine. But he would ask questions of kids. I remember we were talking about, he was a physics teacher, he was. And I was talking about football. And we were talking, I don't know what it was, but I was going, right, the best form of defense is attack. And he was like, what? Why would you say that, Alex? And he'd ask me these questions. Because if you're up the field here, then and then he flipped it into a physics question, and it was kind of like, that's how physics works. That's how the universe works. And I was like, boom! He got me interested in physics. Then that is a trait of a good teacher, right?
Absolutely.
Empathy, compassion,
and listening, hard listening, not with your head, but with your whole system, and just being there and allowing them to just be, because children they know so much. They know so much. They teach you so much.
Yeah.
You only give them the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I love that. So what made you want to become a Reiki healer? I think we need to go back. I think what we need to do is talk about what brought you to Shropshire, what brought you to Shrewsbury.
Okay. So in 2004, I started my life as a maths consultant. Working for the local authority, bit by bit, with cuts and whatever. I was in a team of 5 maths consultants. By 2010, there was me and my boss left because cuts had been made, people had found other jobs, they weren't replaced. So by 2010, there was me and my boss, who clearly had other jobs to do, in charge of 95 primary schools.
That's insane.
That's insane.
You talk about maths. That's not a hard sum to do in your head, is it?
Right. That's insane in itself. And then in 2010, my boss decided she's going to retire. And I knew damn well that she wasn't going to be replaced either. And I knew I was going to be in charge of maths for the whole local authority on my own at that point. I didn't realise that point as well. I then took on her job in charge of 14 consultants. Wow. So not only was I doing my maths job, and then at the time I was also the gifted and talented consultant because she had left and I'd taken that on. as you do. I was then line managing 14 consultants, over half of which were on the route to redundancy.
So you could see that there was like a dwindling path in front of you, I guess.
Yeah, and emotionally, it took a massive toll on me. In 2011, I had a breakdown. I was off work for 4 months.
Yep. I relate. I totally relate.
I mean, I'd gone from maths consultant on my own, leading a team of 14 people who, because they were being made redundant, then couldn't care less. So it was like managing blancmange, and no one cared. And I'd try and challenge someone and they'd tell me where to get off and they'd refuse to do stuff. And then I had line managers above me who were also overwhelmed, who weren't supporting me. And it was like, I just caved in 2011.
Yeah. I can understand that. Totally understand. Especially when all you're trying to do, I mean, from 2004 up to that point is help people, right? Uh-huh. With being in the maths background as well, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And not helping myself, which is usually the case, isn't it? When you have a breakdown, it's like you've given so much, you're not getting anything back, and your body just goes, no.
And in 2011, 2010, there was a huge cutback on mental health services as well, wasn't there? That was the time when the Tories came in and started gutting all the services for mental health. I remember that.
So literally, the local authority, the amount of consultants that were in the local authority in 2010 went down by over 50% by 2011. In my 4 months off, all those people were made redundant. So I literally left. When I managed to get back, I wasn't even in charge of a team of 14 people. Clearly, at that point, I wasn't able to be in charge of much else apart from myself and doing my math stuff.
Yeah.
So because of the huge rejig in the local authority, I then had to reapply for the job if I wanted it. And I went, I'm not doing it, I'll take a pay cut. I just want to do the maths. I don't want to do that any longer because one person on their own in charge of maths for a whole London local authority is enough. I'll take a pay cut, do my old job, and I'll just get on with it.
But did that feel kind of good, being able to get on a more individual level? Do you know what I mean? Like, does that feel better to go back to doing what you were doing before? I mean, it must have been...
I knew there was something going to have to change anyway.
Yeah.
When I got back, I reined in what I was able to do. But I knew, deep inside me from then on, I knew there were going to be bigger changes ahead of that. So, yeah, it was all a bit crazy that time.
Yeah, I imagine.
I can't really remember it in minute detail. The only thing I can remember, and I'm going to laugh about this now, was in my period of recovery where I couldn't do anything apart from be on my friend's sofa for about a month. I watched the Japanese tsunami unraveling. So I can remember that's the time it was because I literally watched that 24/7 because that's all.
You sat there watching BBC News and it's just...
Japanese tsunami. I know I shouldn't laugh about it because clearly it was devastating.
Yeah, it was,
but it's like, that's what I can remember about that period of time that I was off.
It's weird how we do that, isn't it? Certain songs and certain things that happen, you kind of resort to... I remember being depressed towards the end of school, reading Prisoner of Azkaban whilst listening to the album Lithium by Nirvana. So now when I listen to Nirvana, I think of the Prisoner of Azkaban and I think of deep depression towards the end of school. It's mad how we do that.
I know, exactly. So, yeah, so that was 2011 to 2012. And previously to that, there'd been other things going on in my life. In 2006 to 7 was horrific anyway, but I'd managed to get through it without breaking. Mentally, I wasn't in a good place, but I hadn't broken fully. I had a flat in London, which, I managed to get on a teacher's wage, but, whatever. My downstairs neighbours in my flat literally fraudulently used my details and ran up a 20 grand bill, which I had to prove that I had nothing to do with. A relationship of mine broke down after 13 months where he walked out never to be seen again.
So you're going through all this whilst trying to hold a job
Hold
down?
my job down, and this was 2006, and then my closest family member, my cousin, died of cancer after being told 6 months previously. So that was 2006. No, that was 2007. I'm sorry. That was 2007. In 2006, May 2006, and it is not even vaguely funny, a child who I had taught as a primary school teacher in year 3, so I taught him for a whole year, who's now a national, international name, was killed outside his secondary school in North London. Kyan Prince. If you know anything about football, you know anything about a stadium being named after him, and his father now basically running a massive knife crime charity. That happened in May 2006, and that was another trigger that a beautiful child that I had taught when he was 7 and 8, who had so much of a personality, so much of a life ahead of him. He was on his way to playing for Arsenal, and one day outside school, he was stabbed to death.
I remember, yeah. Do you know what? This was one of the starts of the knife crime epidemic. They were talking pandemic, whatever you want, epidemic. They were talking about knife crime, and it became like a huge thing, didn't it? Like, I remember that there was all over the papers, knife crime, and it's
yeah. So that was 2006.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning, and then 2007, I had my fraudulent thing, my relationship breaking down, and my cousin dying of cancer.
Yeah, I understand.
So in 2008, I went, life's too short. And I started going big time traveling around the world. Every holiday I had, I'd travel, like, you know what I mean? I was all over the place. Asia, America, all over Europe, Africa, the whole...
Just backpacking?
Yeah, on my own.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely, it was brilliant. I was given the opportunity to lead a research trip to Australia with 14 teachers, did that. Went to Tanzania working for a charity, did that. Went to Libya with some teachers, did that. Do you know what I went, fuck it. I'm just going to live my life now. This is ridiculous. So yeah.
What was that like for you to see in classroom setups around the world compared to what you're used to back here in the UK?
We are very privileged in this country.
Yeah?
Yeah. Going out to Tanzania, where children are walking 3 to 4 miles to school with no water and no food and pristinely dressed because, you know, they're proud to be going to school and educated, where they've got nothing in the way of books. They've got like one piece of chalk for a week, and the most of their learning is outside scribbling things on ground, where people are living in huts and carrying water on their heads.
Compared to us with our iPads and, yeah.
Yeah, and, we haven't got enough stuff in school. Please give me strength. Do you know what I mean? So... myself and a fellow consultant, who's now a very good friend of mine, went out to Tanzania for a charity that was taking, and this speaks volumes, doesn't it, was taking all the secondary school textbooks that were no longer needed because the government changed the curriculum every number of years, and then all the textbooks are redundant. They were shipping those out to Tanzania, and they had university students going all over to Tanzania delivering these books into schools, because the maths curriculum in Tanzania and here is very similar, apart from, dare I say, it's probably better in Tanzania because it's based on the culture. And myself and my colleague went out, and we were helping to train the teachers to use the books that were coming over from the UK to sort of get them into their curriculum so they could use books. Some of these schools had no books before we'd taken a few textbooks in.
That's nice that was done, though, that, you know, these textbooks that were deemed as no good for schools anymore could be distributed in that way.
Absolutely. But the person in university, he was a university student who came up with this idea and then built a charity around it. You know Wonderful. What I mean? He had an idea and went, hold on a minute, I've been out to Tanzania, and now this same charity is still running in Tanzania and Uganda. People now go out and help build libraries. It's gone much bigger. He's not in charge of it anymore. He's passed it on, but it was incredible.
Amazing.
Absolutely incredible.
Amazing. And then after that trip around the world,
It wasn't really a trip around the world. It was literally, I was still working.
yeah,
So every holiday, and teachers' holidays,
yeah,
you get 2 weeks at Christmas, you get your 1 week half term, you get your 2 weeks in it. All of these, literally every single time I was going somewhere else.
that's wonderful.
It was fab. I put myself in some interesting positions, clearly, but whatever. Whatever.
But you've been out there and you experience it, and that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that did well for your mental state? Do you think it helped
Absolutely,
rebuild you?
because it actually gives you an insight, doesn't it, on how the rest of the world operates. You know what I mean? I think there are a lot of people in this country who haven't literally left the country, or maybe haven't gone outside of Europe, until you go out and you go into like what I would class as real Africa. You don't know what's, you know what I mean? It's humbling, really humbling.
I'd say I made my son watch Blood Diamond. We watched Blood Diamond the other day. It's a very powerful movie, I think, because that does feature a lot of what happened in Sierra Leone. Obviously, it was not a great situation, but it was funded by London, These situations were created by bankers in London, and it filters down to those African villages, and it was like he learned a lot from watching that, I think.
Yeah, and particularly Sierra Leone is one of those countries, isn't it? I worked with a consultant who had worked out there for 5 or 6 years, and she did a lot of charity work in this country to continue to help build schools in Sierra Leone, and they were actually getting it all together, and then they got the Ebola crisis.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
have that.
So when did you fall out of love with education? Did you?
I don't know, but I fell out of love with the system, which is the problem.
Yeah.
Did I say that out loud? I did say that.
We're allowed to have these conversations. I think we're allowed to have these conversations.
Okay.
It's fine.
So, 2008, 2009, all that traveling, having the opportunity to go to places, Libya. That's another one. Absolutely beautiful country in 2009. Everyone went to Libya from the Mediterranean to get trained in medicine because it had some of the best universities. It's got the biggest Roman ruins outside of Italy. No one would ever know about it. Safest houses. I could walk around as a white female on my own, day or night.
Yeah.
No problem whatsoever. Alcohol-free country, unless you know a diplomat. And then, what happened then a few years later? No, wait a minute. I'll just go back a sec. Everyone in that country loved Gaddafi because he'd helped make that country richer. Some of the people were really poor. I didn't think poverty. There was no poverty in Libya. But for some reason, the rest of the Western world, or government, should I say, believed that he wasn't good and took him out. Ruined a country.
Yeah.
Ruined a country. Libya was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. People were beautiful. Yeah. So you see it firsthand, you know what I mean? That is power.
Dominoes. So when you've fallen out of love with the system, is that when you move into sort of Reiki, and how did you find that?
Okay.
The transition?
Let me think. So it wasn't even just Reiki. It was a whole load of energy healing and a whole lot of other holistic things. So by 2016, having led the local authority on my own for 5 years.
In London?
In London,
Yeah.
Barnet Local Authority, only maths consultant, in the borough, leading it on my own. As schools have league tables, we know this, right? Boroughs have league tables too. Maths was third in the country. I was leading it on my own. You know what I mean? There's no ego, but it's like, it's an achievement, yeah?
Absolutely.
But I could not at the time be proud of that because I couldn't be proud of anything I was doing. It was like a massive imposter syndrome. So in 2015, I decided that I was going to work for myself because I'd been doing some work for Oxford University Press as well.
Yeah, I Googled you. There's lots of mentions of Oxford. Yeah.
Oxford University Press.
Yeah.
So I thought, actually, I don't want to stay in one borough. I'd like to work across the country. Oxford University Press has plenty of other opportunities where I can maybe work in other countries and so on. So in 2015, I decided to quit my role at the local authority and become an independent maths consultant. Clearly, there's no maths consultant in Barnet, so they just took me on, paid on a daily wage, which was clearly fine. And then I also became the senior maths consultant for Barking and Dagenham, another North London local authority, which has its own challenges, and a senior consultant for Oxford University Press. So in 2016, 2 London boroughs and Oxford University Press were my key clients. But I also then was working for head teachers who I'd used to train as teachers, who I'd used to work with as consultants who'd gone into leadership elsewhere. So I was also doing bits and pieces around the country or around London.
So you're expanding.
Yeah.
You become an independent
maths consultant.
And you expect that to go smaller, but in fact you expanded. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was like, brilliant. Now I can see what's out there and I can do a bit of this and I can try this. And it was really, really great because there were opportunities there that I'd never had working just in one local authority.
Well, we're in the Shire now, which is like, we look at Shropshire, and I can imagine how things might be different somewhere in Ludlow than it is to somewhere in Telford or in Shrewsbury. But like when it comes to London and London boroughs, were there different sort of educational cultures from borough to borough?
Yeah. And boroughs are in different parts of London, aren't they?
Yeah.
Barnet's seen as quite a leafy borough. It is in the north, but then as you come down further the south of Barnet, then you go in towards central London.
Yeah.
So you go in, you're then on the edges of Haringey and, Harrow and Brent, which have got, we're talking Wembley and, areas that are more challenging in the centre.
Yeah.
So Barnet it was like split in two. You've got the leafy borough of Barnet. But the best leadership teams, I'm going to say it, were in the more challenging schools. Because they sort of had to be.
Because they're used to walking in the mud, right? They're used to dealing with
and being creative on how they're going to actually get through something and problem solve.
I wasn't comparing people to mud, by the way. I was talking about sticky situations. That's kind of that's the metaphor, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Whereas Barking and Dagenham, there's no leafy areas in Barking and Dagenham. It's literally it's on the edge of Essex. It's right on. You can see from Barking and Dagenham. You can see. The city of London, but it's literally majority of it is estates. So although the children are living in deprived areas, they also can see that there is something out there. Do you know what I mean? There's opportunities on their path.
Is that oppression or is that inspiration?
I think that's inspiration.
Yeah.
Because a lot of children can see that. They know that there's other things to do. They know there's the city to work in. They know central London has, shops and, theatres and all that kind of thing.
I see that as opportunity.
Opportunity massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is a massive difference to where I grew up in the valleys of South Wales, where there is no opportunity unless you leave. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
So...
I guess as schools, your job is to not just to educate, but to motivate as well.
Yeah.
And we talk about like how the curriculum might not be the correct tool for children, but is there enough in that to be able to motivate?
Not unless you're creative with it.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of schools are lacking, is that creativity.
Absolutely. And, primary schools, as I've mentioned already, the majority of primary school teachers and leaders are not math specialists.
Yeah.
And 25%, that's a rough percentage of people in this country have a maths phobia.
Yeah, do you know what? I could see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely see
People
that.
will say they hate maths. What they might actually hate is what they were taught in school. You can't hate maths, it's everywhere. Don't start me off. It's absolutely everywhere.
I think it's the same as everything, though. It's the same as, I don't know, learning how to edit audio. It's learning how to, I don't know, change a tire. Once you learn the method, then you can do it. You can do it.
But maths is like learning how to build a house. And what is not happening in schools is the foundations aren't solid enough for you to build on top of. There's so much in the curriculum. The teachers have got this idea they've got to whip through. They've got to cover so much. Basics are not in place.
Yeah.
And then as the basics are not in place, The children got gaps, but there's no time to fill them. And then they start thinking they can't do it and they start blaming themselves. And it's, I hate maths. And it's like, you don't hate maths. You hate the curriculum that you are being taught.
It's like being hit with a Gatling gun of information, right?
It is, but they haven't got the basics sorted.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about multiplication facts. They talk about, addition and subtraction facts. Those things need to be embedded so you are fluent in numeracy before you can actually build on top of that. People mention long division. I hate it. There's no point in even having it in the curriculum, but it's always in the curriculum. It's always in the curriculum. There is no point in having that in the curriculum. In Singapore, where they have the highest maths results in the world by far, and every year they go further and further away from the rest of the world, they don't have long division in their curriculum.
They must do it a different way.
They have fluency in mathematics, so every child is fluent in number and with phenomenal estimation skills. So they're given a calculator, they do the calculation, and they look at the answer and work out whether or not it's reasonable for their estimation skills. That's how they do long division.
Wow.
They do not do a method that, I swear to you, 99.5% of the population do not even understand.
I got to say that's not a strong point. So yeah, you're right. I am the population of the UK, and we say no.
And we say no to long division. If I could rewrite the curriculum, it'd be out. First thing that would be removed would be long division. Second thing, Roman numerals. Third thing, analog clock. No one uses analog clock.
My son's not strong with the analog clock. He understands it, but he has to look at it for a little bit to understand. But
we live in a digital world.
Yeah,
there's no need for an analog clock. It's a beautiful thing. It should be taught outside the maths curriculum. It's not mathematical. There's no maths in an analog clock. Well, there's plenty of maths, really. But, it's if you can tell digital time, that's all that's needed in this day and age.
Absolutely. And what brings you to Shropshire?
Right. 2019. I've got all these things going on. Brilliant life from the outside, yeah. Phenomenal
Bouncing
life.
maths across London, yeah.
Bouncing maths across London, right across the country, and being sent to Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, right all over the north. Oxford University Press do a lot of work with the northern part of the country because they've got some brilliant maths teams up there.
Are you kind of known for maths at this point? Do people know who you are for?
Yeah.
For what you do?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm chosen to go and deliver at conferences in Oxford University. I've worked with the actual authors of the Singapore maths curriculum. I was chosen in 2018 to put together the rollout of the Singapore maths curriculum, the professional development for the consultants to roll out across England. I'm chosen to do this. I'm working with the people who've designed the best curriculum in the world.
That's amazing.
Humbling again, though, because these are like the people I've looked up to because their maths teaching is how it should be.
But is that embarrassing for you? For to be able to this is our career. This is how the UK doing this. This is what we're teaching the kids, and look at what you're teaching your kids. Is that
they are so humble? The two guys I worked with, who the first one was the man who introduced the Singapore maths curriculum in 1982. He changed the Singapore world of maths.
Okay.
And the other guy wrote the new secondary maths curriculum for Singapore.
Okay.
The best thing about the Singapore maths curriculum is the government in Singapore have nothing to do with their education system.
Okay, so it's a separate entity.
Yeah, they have the Ministry of Education and the government has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
That's why it works. One of the reasons it works. And everything that's done in the Ministry of Education then gets trialled back into the Singapore schools with the teachers. And then all the research goes from what's going on in the schools, takes it back to the university, rejigged back in. So it's literally a fluent work between the schools and the Ministry of Education. Government has nothing to do with it.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
okay.
It's fabulous.
It's a great system.
So I was chosen through Oxford University Press to develop the training rollout for the Oxford University Press consultant, so then we could all go into the secondary schools and deliver the Discovering Mathematics curriculum that had been brought in from Singapore and developed as a curriculum in the UK.
That's to try and wean it into the curriculum, yeah.
Try to be in the operative word, yeah.
Yeah. And it just didn't.
No, because so many schools don't really want to change.
Just didn't translate. Yeah, I can see that. I think we can all see that. This is the point I was making earlier when I was seeing, like, I was seeing Timmy go through school. I'm like, I remember that form. I remember doing that page when I was a kid. I remember the little blocks, the color blocks that they clicked together to do maths with. Like, I remember doing all that sort of stuff. That's the same stuff I was doing when I was his age.
But that's the Singapore maths curriculum. Everything should be taught through that.
Yeah.
Everything should be taught through physical apparatus first. And then that physical apparatus gives you a physical understanding of the mathematics.
Yeah.
You then draw your understanding from the physical apparatus, and then from that drawing, you gain the mathematics.
Yeah, that's why the coins are a good idea, right?
Real coins, not plastic ones,
yeah.
Ones that actually feel like coins.
Yeah.
Whereas some schools are going, oh, no, we're not having real coins, we want plastic ones because the real ones get dirty. And it's like, so you're paying £2 for a bag of 100 1p plastic coins, but actually they cost you £1 in real life. It is the common sense thing. It's like, oh my word, what on earth is happening?
But Timmy's got a big coin box, and we make him count it. Count it.
Please, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I did as a child. I was constantly like, the king counting his coins. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We've had it all out here. Honestly, we had he was like a counting machine. We had coppers everywhere. It was a mess, but
it's the best way to learn maths is by playing with maths.
Yeah.
Because, as I have always said, teaching maths as numbers, calculations, formula, and so on is like teaching a music lesson with just the music on the paper and not hearing any sound.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You got to try and find a way to sort of...
You've got to play it and work it out yourself.
Make it relatable.
And be able to play with it, investigate it, work it out yourself. And then you've got someone guiding you into, the structure you are looking for. Not starting with a chalk in the background saying, this is Pythagoras' theorem, la, 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 la. Stop it right now, please.
You got to do it so that when you are doing that, it makes sense. Because
you've got to get to that.
Yeah.
You get to that. Yeah. That's the third step in mathematics.
Now, weight training.
You don't start with
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So I was doing all of this with Oxford University Press, who are a brilliant team of people to work with. So creative. Such, you know what I mean? And I was literally given this and gone, go ahead. Because they knew I'd be able to do it. I was trusted to do it. And then I had to train our maths consultants team. So there were 7 or 8 of us who were going to go out to deliver to secondary schools. And in the room were the 2 Singapore people who'd actually written the curriculum in my training. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Dr. Fong and I can't remember the other guy's name.
And
room with me, and I'm delivering their curriculum, changed it to here.
And then they're tapping a pen on a page. Like, come on,
No, they're not, because these are decent human beings with no ego.
Good.
These are humble people who are quiet and unassuming people. They're no ego. They just want the best for the children in their country.
And that's how it should be.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so will you go from that to the Shire?
Exactly. Well, I had a break then, because in 2019, I'm doing all of that. I'm running a maths club with real children outside of my job on a Wednesday afternoon in a school in Barnet, but where other children are coming in. So I'm running a real life maths club. Doing all those jobs, working all over the place. In 2018, I was in Qatar doing some work for Oxford University Press, which was phenomenal. And then in 2019, and I'll go back to the January. In the January, I was doing some work in Hastings. Yeah, I was staying in a hotel in Eastbourne. It was 1 degree outside, but I was determined to go on the beach, that kind of thing. Do you know? And someone I knew, and this might sound a bit crazy considering what I've told you so far, in my hotel room in Eastbourne, was doing some shamanic healing on me from her home in America. Right, so I had a 3-hour shamanic healing session in my hotel room the day before I was doing the delivery of the training in Hastings, which was phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, it was ridiculously powerful. I'd never experienced anything like it in my life. In 2017, I discovered cacao ceremonies and sound healing. I was going to a sound bath every Friday. I was getting Reiki off other people. All those things. So after my breakdown in 2011, after loads of therapy, after being put on antidepressants by a doctor on Prozac for 6 years and getting myself off it, I was literally doing more and more holistic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going, there's more to this than meets the eye. So in 2019, I'd had our shamanic healing for 3 hours in my hotel room in Eastbourne. The next day, I delivered probably some of the best training I'd ever delivered in my life in, not even sure what it was all about. Something to do with a maths hub in Hastings. I drove back to my house. By this point, I'd moved to Hitchin in Hertfordshire. I had a house in Hitchin. Some of this is going to sound crazy from now on, clearly. Go home, sat in my living room. My father died in 1995. We were very close. And that I sat down in my room and literally the whole of the room changed energy completely. And I knew my father was in the room with me. There's no institutions around are going to take me at this moment. And I had this absolute feeling of joy, love, and I could feel there was something bigger that was going to be on the cards pretty soon. And I was like, oh my goodness, my father's here in the room, basically saying to me, everything you should have got as a child, I'm giving you now in this space. And I'm like, you can imagine I'm in tears. Do you know what I mean? Going, what on earth is going on here? This is mental. So that was in January 2019. About 3 weeks later, in February, I'd just come out of teaching at my after-school maths club, and I sat in the car, in my car park, and burst into tears. I was shaking. I was like, I have no idea what's going on here, but something has to change. So I phoned my friend up, John, who's still, always been one of my closest friends. And I went, John, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm sat here in my car in Barnet. At the time, him and his wife were living in Enfield, which is literally 25 minutes from where I was sat in my car. He went, come over here now. So I drove over there. I think he gave me a shot of whiskey or something. Just calm down, Sean. I wasn't really drinking at the time.
The liquid slap across the face.
And I was like, just like, what's going on? And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I do not want to do this anymore. And he went, well, what's stopping you? I went, I've got this career, this really successful career. I've got a house. I've got 2 dogs. I've got no savings I can draw upon because I've been living in London and the southeast. You know what I mean? Doing everything I could.
Expensive down there as well.
Expensive. And he went, well, you do have a choice. You've always got a choice. And I went, I'm going to have to sell my house, aren't I? He went, yeah. So 2 days later, I contacted 2 local authorities and Oxford University Press. I told them I wouldn't be back. I had no contract with any of them. In 3 days, I'd given up all my work. Within 2 weeks later, I put my house on the market. That was 2019. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just went, I can't do this any longer. I literally felt like there was something bigger than me pulling me out of there going, you need to listen now.
Talk about gut feeling and instincts.
Oh, it was beyond that. It was beyond that. You know what I mean? It was like something physically dragging me out of my body going, you need to get out now. The system was breaking me. I couldn't work in a system where exams were seemingly more important than children.
Yeah.
Nah, no longer.
Because those exam results, you talk about the league, school leagues, that's where they sit. Yeah, I get that.
So
yeah,
that was February 2019. By October, I sold my house. And there are no coincidences. There are no coincidences. Another friend of mine who lived in Hitchin, one of my friends from university, my closest friend Dave, said, where are you going to live? I went, I have no idea where I'm going to live. But my house is, my house is going through in 3 weeks. He went, well, both my parents are in a care home. Their house is free at the moment, Sean, if you want to move in. So I went from selling my house straight into my friend Dave's parents' house. It was empty.
It's like it was made for you.
Well, of course. Yeah. I'd literally opened everything up, gone.
The universe
had literally gone, have house. So the day before my house sale went through, I did my Reiki level 1 training. The day before my house sale went through. A friend of mine was running a yoga retreat in Marrakesh and had kept a space open for me just in case. My house sale went through on the Monday.
You have money to go to Marrakesh.
Picked up the phone, booked a flight. Got my dogs in their usual daycare because I was travelling all over the country and, that's where they usually went. And on the Thursday, I flew out to Marrakesh for a week on a yoga retreat.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
But I hear what you're saying.
It was exactly what I needed.
I hear what you're saying. You said you finally opened yourself up to the universe. The universe gave you everything that you needed to make this happen, right?
It does.
Yeah.
If you allow it. If you open up that space and you go, this is not my journey, this is not what I'm meant to be doing, and trust it, things come in. Things come in. Clearly, over the last 6 years, I've realised that's an awful lot more. So I came back from Marrakesh. Big chunk of money in the bank. Not enough to buy another house. No problem. I was like, I'll take a year off. I'll just take a year off and then, I'll see what happens and so on. So a Christmas and New Year, I spent 3 weeks in a cottage in the middle of Wales with the dogs. One of the weeks, one of my friends came down because her partner, in fact, my old boss, Jean, came down for a week because her partner died that year. And I was like, you've got no one to spend Christmas with. Come down and spend Christmas with me in this remote cottage for a week. She then went back after Christmas and I spent the next 2 weeks in this beautiful cottage in Wales on my own with the dogs, discovering some, countryside, some beaches. Got lost in a forest for 12 hours. That's another story. And then came back in January, living in Dave's parents' house, taking a year off. March 2020, COVID hit.
Yeah, pandemic, yeah.
Forced me into doing absolutely nothing. Because I didn't want to go back to my old work. I wasn't going to look for work that was similar because I knew that wasn't right. So I literally just had to hold my hand up and go, you now really have got a year off.
And,
Again?
That did one of two things to people. Either sent them into hibernation, almost on critical mental health conditions, or it made them creative, made them reset and create their own.
And that's what I did. So in the little window of opportunities that I had in June and July 2020, when people were allowed to actually do something, I went, right, I've got to get out to the country now. This is ridiculous. The whole point was me moving away and just resetting my whole system. Do you know what I mean? I've got 2 dogs at the time. Trying to find a place to rent with 2 dogs.
Not easy, yeah.
Really hard work. So I found randomly this place in a small village in Shropshire. Barn conversion. Went up. One of my friends had moved to Ironbridge at the time, so I stayed with her for a couple of days. Went to see this property. Went to the, estate agent, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely perfect, really quirky, really me. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, a lot of other people looking at it, and I'm like, whatever will be, will be. Went back to my friends in Ironbridge. I hadn't even got there. I got the estate agents on the phone saying the landlady wants you to take the property. I'm like, I'll have it. Where's the paperwork? So by mid-July 2020, I'd moved to Shropshire with my 2 dogs.
And this is all just from listening to the universe and just...
Yeah, just going with it.
Going with the flow.
And it is beautiful. You know what I mean? It's a natural structure. I'm living in wood. I'm not in the Shropshire Hills, but I can see the Shropshire Hills from where I live.
Is it like Cressidge Way? Is it?
No, it's towards Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
So that direction.
That direction.
Yeah. It's literally a 10-minute drive into the hills.
Yeah. Then that's what I love about the Shire, to go from like London to the Shire. Is that a culture shock for you?
No, I was brought up in the valleys of South Wales.
Oh, yeah,
Brecon Beacons.
yeah,
so I've gone sort of full circle.
So maybe London was the culture shock for you.
London was amazing. That could be another podcast entirely. But I literally felt as if my body could now recover from what on earth I'd been through.
Maybe you were carrying a lot of pain and damage from 2006 to 2009. All of that stuff that happened with you.
I was carrying a lot of damage from my birth. Forget that. That's a whole, you know what I mean? My childhood was really challenging.
Yeah.
Really challenging. But when you're a child, you think your family's normal. Yeah? You think everyone is like you, don't you, as a child? And you just get on with it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started unraveling everything in 2011, I knew it wasn't right, that you realise how bad it was.
Yeah.
I had a whole lifetime to recover from, not just 2006.
Yeah.
I had 1970 onwards to recover from and unravel. So I literally had to undo every pattern, every bit of programming I'd been brought up with, everything I'd allowed to become part of me that wasn't me. Everything had to be unravelled from birth to 2020.
And Shropshire, where the situation you're in sort of then and sort of to now, gave you the space to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I'm in a village that is tiny. Do you know what I mean? And it was like I knew no one. And I was just there with my dogs in the pandemic. So you couldn't even meet anyone.
Yeah.
I met my next neighbour, over the hedge.
Hello.
Well, I didn't even have to say that. One day my garden was mowed and I knew nothing about it. And he had been in and mowed my garden. And to this day, he's a really good friend. But that was the only person I knew and actually had communication with for a whole year because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I can imagine. I worked as a support worker. I worked all the way through. I didn't get COVID. I'd never caught it, so I never had to quarantine. So I just lived life normally. It was just obviously brought a lot of turmoil and a lot of struggle to a lot of people. But for me, I just remember being empty roads to drive on and get into the front of queues for the supermarkets, like because I'm a ID and stuff,
Absolutely. But when I'd lived it hit when I was living in Hertfordshire. So I would walk across the countryside to where the A1 was, and there's nothing on the A1.
It's like a scene out of a movie.
On the A1, I've got videos of like nothing on the A1 on a Friday afternoon. I'm like, wow. So I came up here. I just before I'd left, I got my Reiki 2 level. I'd done, as a consultant, I was a trained coach anyway. I just had to then spend a year rejigging that so I had life coaching experience under my belt as well, which is what I do part-time at the moment, as well as quite a lot of maths tuition, to be honest with you, GCSE maths tuition, with children who think differently and don't work well in the system. Yeah. They come to me and I work with them from their learning style, and
might give you a call later.
You know what I mean? And we make massive progress that they would never have made in school. You know what I mean? So I'm sort of I'm a maths coach. I'm not a tutor.
Maths never goes away for you.
Never. So I'm a coach for students at the moment who learn differently to other children, but can actually pass those exams if you teach them properly.
Yeah.
All right. So I've run women's circles in Shropshire. I've done energy work in the women's circles, a bit of sound healing. I do distant Reiki with sound healing.
Do you meet a lot of because when you holistic healing, I've read, you may see me looking at my phone and writing things down. I just wanted to give a shout out to Peter Bedard, who is a guy I interviewed from America when we did USAC. He's a found dancer whose legs got crushed. and he was put on a lot of Western medicine to sort of heal, and he didn't. It was turning him into a zombie. He didn't get on with it, so he learned a lot about holistic healing and tea. Tea was one of the things, and meditation, and he created a company called Convergence Teas, which is now massive. It's huge. What he does is he helps people find their path through tea, through meditation, and through holistic healing. And he healed through that. That's how he healed, not through the Western medicine. So like, I've done EMDR therapy recently. I've done a little bit of meditation, so I can understand how to find my inner peace. Serenity is what I call it. That's my space, is serenity. And so I understand how different ways of thinking, different ways of breathing and being can bring you positivity and healing. But there are people out there that don't understand that, that call it kind of hippie, woo-woo. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Have you met people that kind of have that negative vibe towards it that you've helped understand and actually helped?
I've had people who've come into women's circles who didn't actually know what they were walking into.
Yeah.
And I've just held that space for them energetically, so they actually feel safe in there to actually say nothing if they want to. And they've come into the space with things that I've not even known about. And at the end of this, the 2 hours, I'll say, is there anything you want to ask or anything you want to say? And some of them, usually it's pain relief, which happens. It's like, I came in with I've got a really damaged hip and I've had no pain for 2 hours because I've done deep meditation. I've done breath work with them. I've done healing with them, and just being in that space and doing those practices, they've come in and the pain, immense pain. They didn't tell me they had pain coming in, but on leaving, they told me, hold on a minute, this is all gone.
And that's it. That's the answer you give to people when they ask you, what do you do? That is that you've done a service for someone. You've helped someone.
I've just held the space for their body to heal itself. That is all I've done.
Yeah. So
I don't heal people.
Yeah.
Their bodies heal. I hold that space for them.
Yeah. So that's what you do, and that's the beautiful thing about when people say, "Oh yeah, there you go. You've helped someone. You help people."
Exactly. I always have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna, I've been in touch with someone who I know and I respect to do my Reiki Masters training this autumn. I'm in a quantum alignment mastery group. I've done my level 1 quantum alignment training, which is like NLP, but it's more of using the universe and the universal presence.
Okay.
To actually help you with rejigging your energetic systems, and bringing out your inner resources that you don't know you have, but everyone has these inner resources to help you heal and so on, and actually working with those and visualization to heal mental health, make emotional well-being and so on.
You've piqued my interest. I think we're going to have to do another podcast.
Exactly. I'm like,
you could probably see
is this part one? Is this part one? I've healed myself from, there we go, 2.5 years ago, I ended up in hospital for a week with a perforated bowel, which could have killed me. Yeah. Apparently. I don't take pharmaceutical medication. I was on an antibiotic drip for a week in Shrewsbury Hospital. The doctors basically said, you're going to need an operation, or you're going to need like a filter to drain your bowel. I went, I'll do it myself, yeah? And they were like, yeah, okay, right. So I left hospital. I finished the course of medication they gave me. And then I upped my water. I'm going to be honest here. I walked away from some very toxic friendships.
Stress is bad.
Exactly. I cut out many members of my family because those are completely...
Stress is bad.
And
you're allowed to do that, folks.
I literally removed a whole swathe of things out of my life that were not serving me in any way, shape or form, right? So I wanted no energy leaks. I was going to heal myself. right? So up the water, did more exercise, cut out all the bad food. I wasn't drinking anyway, so that wasn't really an issue. I'm not saying I'm not drinking at all. I drink on occasion these days, yeah? But I used to use it as a crutch. It's a different ballgame entirely.
Yeah.
And I went back to the consultant within, I think it was 6 months later, and he took a scan of my body and he went, "You have no perforated bowel." I went, "I know, I've healed myself." And he went, "Yeah, you have." I went, "I know, because your body heals itself. You don't have a cut on your finger and you have to go, oh, poor cut, you know what I mean? No, your body heals itself."
Yeah.
So with the right environment, your body heals itself. I did it, right? Perforated bowel to no perforated bowel in 6 months. No pharmaceutical medication at all. I don't have anything in the house. I will not take it.
And that's your choice, and that's
It's
absolutely
my massive
fine.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works for me. And everyone now who's in my circle, it works for them too. I have a cousin who was just recently, 3.5 years ago, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He had 2 cancers. He had prostate cancer and he had bone cancer. 3 months ago, he went to the doctor. No cancer. Because he changed everything about what he did with himself and so on.
I think we get so happy. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit of a pudding, but I'm very open on the podcast. I talk about I have PTSD, childhood trauma.
Me too.
And
I did.
I've done EMDR, which is great. I think it's great for certain scenarios, not all scenarios. I'm going through, I mean, I'll talk to you a bit off mic, but I'm going through a bit of hell right now. And it's very hard to not feel downtrodden on. It's very hard to not feel, I guess, like a victim. Like, it's hard. I've just put on Facebook yesterday. It feels like I'm swimming in sinking sand. It feels like I'm struggling. Like I'm treading water with like weights attached to my legs. Like, it's bad. And I feel like Reiki, meditation, rewiring your brain to sort of deal with scenarios in a different manner and trying to be a more positive person. I think we could all do with something like that, And I definitely, you piqued my interest, definitely, because I feel like there are definitely such scenarios where I need to be a bit more positive. And I feel like it's because of the way I've sort of raised myself to deal with situations. Maybe it's not the right way.
It's our programming.
Yeah.
We have to be reprogrammed. We have to reprogram ourselves.
And I totally believe that, especially when it comes to, I talk about mentioning me being a bit overweight, is like my process is food is not just a source of nutrients.
It's a comfort.
It's a comfort.
Of course it is.
So there we go. That is how we rewire our brains.
And you have to do it in small steps as well. You know what I mean? You can't go, right, I'm going all in. This has taken me from 2019 to 2025 to get to the position I'm in now, where I've literally reprogrammed. It's ongoing. It's a life thing. This is not, oh, you've reprogrammed myself, I'm fine. This is from now until I leave this body. Yeah? This is ongoing work. I've had to undo 54 years of programming.
Yeah.
That's a lot of programming. That's over half my life, really. Yeah? So 6.5 years is where I've done the real work in undoing everything from the inside out and reining in all my energy that is mine, and anything that isn't mine has to leave.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really hard. It's not easy things to do.
The childhood trauma. These are things like, I got mugged twice before I was even an adult, and there's lots of violence in the streets I grew up on and stuff. What that does is that creates a great intolerance to injustice. So like when all the whole Trump thing at the moment, the racism I'm seeing on social media, all these kind of things, I go wading into the comments to tell people that's wrong and they shouldn't be, and it riles me. And then I'll go to bed and I'm annoyed about those things. I want to learn to let go of that sort of stuff.
I can teach you so easily.
Because I know that those injustices, I think the Sacha Baron Cohen body shame
was ridiculous, wasn't it?
I totally get that how women have been treated. I feel like I'm an ally to all, and that's how I describe myself. But like, I totally understand. If you're not understanding what I'm talking about, Sacha Baron Cohen, who played Borat famously.
His body is great at the moment.
He's trained because he's got a role in the MCU. He's just divorced from Isla Fisher. I get that. I'm not talking about that. There's a journalist that talked about how his body is a repellent to women. And I'm thinking, have we not moved away from talking about human beings in that way?
Who cares what they look like physically?
Exactly.
Are they kind people? That's all I care about.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Everybody needs to be decent. And that is where I look at things and I go, oh, no, you didn't. Like, I need to learn to let go and relax.
Yeah, I found that over the last few months as well. I'm getting too in having something to say on a Facebook thread. And then with all my years of experience, and then I'm going to say a keyboard warrior will come in and go, oh, no, it's not. I'm like, oh, no. And then I go away and I do a bit of journaling, and it's like, stop writing things on Facebook threads, Sean, because that's entangling your energy that you do not need.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
Stop.
I need a way to be more positive. That's what I need.
Because my childhood trauma comes from within my family.
Yes,
I was the scapegoat for all the violence.
And when you've cut those ties, like you mentioned,
it's really hard. Because those are the people you were brought up with. And I'm from South Wales. It's quite a big family that I've had to cut myself off from. And yeah, it's ongoing because there are still things I have to deal with the family. It sounds like Charles Manson, doesn't it? But
I get it. I don't want to get too personal about my family, but
no, but it's it's that thing where I'm still having to deal with certain things that haven't been sorted, and I'm having to be the real grown up and the professional who can get these things sorted.
And the Reiki and your holistic approach to dealing with those stresses and troubles, it's helped you sort of find balance, right?
Absolutely, and I can do everything I'm doing at the moment without any emotional attachment, which has taken me years to get to.
Oh.
And that's the thing. I'm not even going to go in. I'm having to deal with something that's quite serious with my family at the moment, to do with my family home. I'm not even going there. And I've literally had to go, no emotion, grown up, we need to get this sorted.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm dealing with a whole family who don't work on that emotional intelligence level.
Yeah.
Far from.
And we can all relate to that,
exactly,
I guess. Everyone can relate to that.
So I've had to put my massive big girl pants on recently and use all my energy stuff on myself and go, rein in the energy, because actually I've got to focus on what I've got to do going forward.
Yeah.
So it's all fun, you know what I mean? This life thing is all, and you know what I mean? It's all like a challenge. And
it must be nice though, because I know you've got a different approach to academics, to I guess the drones that come out of that's the kind of like sticking to the curriculum. You've got your own ideas of education, which is great, but it's still kind of like you're boxed in when it comes to education. You kind of have that regimented, that's what it is, to then being able to be like, I can do what I like now. That must have been like a huge relief.
Oh my word. And actually, it wasn't until a few years ago that actually hit the surface, because I was recovering to a certain extent from everything that had gone on before. And in the last 6 or 7 months, a lot of my friends home educate their children. I've literally, I'm trying to think, when did I start it? In about March this year, I started running home education groups for the people of Shropshire.
Yes.
So I go out and I book a room somewhere, a village hall, I've got a WhatsApp group of 35 parents with over 100 children. And I go out and I run home education groups through something I'm interested in.
So the consultant in you's come out again.
But also
in an organic way, though.
Organic way. So I have children between the ages of 6 and 14 in this group, and I teach them all together, because a 6-year-old might be able to do what a 14-year-old can't. Let's not put them in a bracket, yeah? And I go, right, we're going to do everything from circles or something today. And the 6-year-old learns about pi from first principles because they can. Yeah?
That's nice. That's
exactly. Good. And then another day I'll go, okay, we'll do it all about scale, and we'll do it through dinosaurs, animals, and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah? Let's make our own trump cards, etc., etc. So I'm just having fun doing what I can in that sense because I love maths. As I said, I love her.
It is the universe around us, isn't it?
It is
in numbers.
Everything in the universe. And, when people say, but I hate maths, I'm like, give me your phone. How do you think it was made? Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Exactly. What waist are your trousers? That's a number.
Yeah, that's a number, exactly.
That's maths.
Do you know what I mean? You want to learn how to budget? Those are numbers.
How was the sole on your trainers created? You know what they did? They worked out how much weight distribution they needed.
Do you want to start? Let's have a look at a cushion. Let's have a look at this microphone. Let's have a look at my trousers.
You can have the same argument about politics, science, religion. You can, when it comes down to spirituality. I'm not very spiritual. Okay. So how did you make yourself feel happy during a bad situation? That's spirituality. Do you know what I mean?
You're going inside to find something that you can bring to the outside, aren't you?
Exactly right, yeah.
So...
Yeah. Listen, I think we've done an hour and a half. I love this. I love this. This is what I live for. This is your story. And I've given you a voice on this podcast, and that's what it's supposed to be.
You.
But what are you looking for now? I mean, listeners might be listening to this going, okay, so what am I going to do with this information? Do you want people to get involved with Reiki with you? Do you want?
Well, I'm actually, now I'm actually working. I'm doing life coaching, and bringing all of that holistic stuff in. So I am an energy worker. I work with mindfulness, meditation. I'm a trained coach. I've been helping, women in business to, deal with their middle managers, if they can't have a difficult conversation because something's triggered from their childhood. I'm the person who can then hold the space and do the coaching with them and move them from there into their own empowerment. I've worked with other people who have, can't decide whether or not their relationship is working. So we'll do some work with them and, they make the decision. So it's basically working with women's empowerment is my my move forward in life coaching, energy healing, holistic practices. That is my way forward at the moment. Yes, I do my GCSE tutoring. Yes, I do my home ed groups. Of course I do those. But going forward, I'm looking at working with making women, men, of course, but women, because I've gone through it myself for 54 years.
Of course, yes, peer support.
Look at their own selves. They're more powerful than everyone is more powerful than they know. Everyone has everything inside them ready to go. It's just how do you switch that switch on to actually go, actually, I can do whatever I want.
We have free will. People don't understand that sometimes.
Everyone has a choice.
Do you know what I think about it sometimes? I sit there and I think, I've got a car there. I could drive to Scotland right now. Do you know what I mean? What's stopping us from doing those things?
Exactly. Exactly, Alex. Last week, I'll give you a quick example before, we wrap up or whatever. I went back to Wales 2 weeks ago. All right. It's the first time in my whole life that I've gone back to Wales and I felt in charge of myself without any worry about bumping into someone and so on. I went back to my hometown and stayed with a friend of mine because I have no relationship with my family. And I met a friend of mine that I hadn't seen for 47 years since primary school. We were best friends in primary school. They moved, her family moved, we were torn apart. Facebook's a great thing because in the last 7 years, we got back in contact and we're like this. We're so similar. So we met up 2 weeks ago and it was like we hadn't been apart for 47 years.
Oh, I love those.
Oh my God, it was so amazing. We were both in tears. Do you know what I mean? It was like we met in a vegan coffee shop in my hometown. It's like, what, the valleys of South Wales is a vegan coffee shop? Seriously. Things have changed. It's also got 2 holistic shops in my hometown. It's just sound baths. I'm like, wow, I've gone back in. So there's definitely a community of people in South Wales as well who are literally on the same journey. Anyway, I was talking to my friend last night. We went, we need to go away together. Gone online, found us an interesting glamping site outside Machynlleth. Booked October. We're there for 3 days, me, her, and my dog.
Nice.
You are?
Yeah.
You can do anything you like.
You can.
You can actually do whatever you
my
like.
My wife's good at that. She's really good. She'd be like, oh, we've got tickets for Gladiators. We're going next week. Okay.
Exactly.
She's fantastic and stuff like that.
You could die tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's the point? Do you know what I mean? Live your life. Live your life on your terms.
Amazing. Are you looking for people to get in touch with you for Reiki? Can people? Is there a way that they
I don't
can?
know about Reiki. That's a very small part.
Or whatever you.
So I'm looking to develop my life coaching business. I've had a number of clients, and I'm currently, thankfully, I've got a friend who's a web designer, graphic designer, putting together my website. Got my business cards going. So
You're writing a book as well, right?
I am writing a book on my whole life story and the transition from my whole life. Oh my goodness!
I invited you around for a chat. I mean, we've been going for an hour 36. I mean, imagine what you get in a book.
Oh, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. When you write it all down, the patterns just jump out to you.
Yeah.
The positions I put myself into and got through is just like, wow.
Yeah. I think
shit off, Sean.
Well, we had Chris Shirk just sat there just before you came in, and I was like, "Yeah, we're speaking to a mathematician, to a Reiki healer that's got changed her life, midlife," and he was like, "That sounds interesting." Genuinely, he was like, "Wow, okay." So, I mean,
Reiki healing is just part of it.
I've kind of honed in on the Reiki healing thing, but there's more to it. Obviously, the life coaching,
far more. But doing my Reiki master's level in the next few months.
How do we label what you've become from what you were?
I would call myself a holistic life coach.
Holistic life
coach is what a transformational holistic life coach, because I've done it.
And I've interviewed holistic life coaches from all around the world, genuinely, and when it comes to holistic healing, it's exponential. The amount of different types of holistic healing and the results as well. I mean, like I said, when people ask what you do and they're a bit skeptical, and you tell them, "Oh, yep, there's a lady that came to my thing. She had pain. She doesn't have it anymore." That's it. That is it. That's if you help people, then you're helping people.
Absolutely,
and that's all that people need to know.
Absolutely. And it blows my mind every time I do it. I did some distance Reiki with a friend of mine 2 years ago. And we came out to the session. She was in her room in London. I'm in Shropshire. Yeah. We chat afterwards, and I said, just talk me through what happened, because this is my second distance Reiki session ever. She told me everything I did in minute detail, down to the use of a sound bowl. She went, there was some kind of sound going on, blah, blah, blah. There was this, whatever. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was doing the work, I felt something uneasy in your left shoulder. I did a lot of work on it, but I'm not sure what's going on. She went, Sean, don't be ridiculous. I've got a spine problem. Anyway, she went to the doctors 2 days later. She's got an arthritic left shoulder. And she went, my friend told me this in a Reiki session 2 days ago. So I'd noticed it. She hadn't had it, but when she went to the doctors, she had an arthritis. She actually did have an. So, I don't know what's going on sometimes.
Well, there you go. You did it.
I don't know what's going on.
Sean, you've been amazing to speak to. Genuinely, we're gonna have to call it quits. Otherwise, people will be accusing me of trying to be Rogan. Honestly, but this is it's been absolutely fascinating hearing your story, and this is kind of the focus I wanted to move down with the Shrewsbury Biscuit. I wanted to speak to experts of their trade and people with fascinating stories, and I feel like this has been a great. We just did Chris Shirk, who's just obviously got an amazing story, Rooftoping, and that book there is fantastic. But your story as well. This is what I've loved. This is what I love. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. What a fantastic episode. What a great story Sean has. And if you want to come on the podcast and share your story, you can find us. My email is shrewsburybiscuitpodcast@gmail.com. That's a simple one, right? Our website is theshrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. You can find everything you need to know about the podcast, whether you want to come on the podcast, listen to the podcast, endorse the podcast, whatever you want to do. You can get it from the website. And that's lovingly made for us by our friends at Web Orchard. If you need a great website, they can make one for you. You can also give us a follow on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and we're on TikTok. We're also on Threads as well. I think that's it for our social media. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you do want to come on the podcast, just give us a shout. I'm pretty sure we can sort something out. Make sure you tune into next week's podcast. It's one I've been dying to share with you guys. So happy I've got these guys as guests. It's a bit of a coup, really. I think they're fantastic. It is the Shropshire Scratching Company. A few weeks ago, these guys blew my mind. They're a 6-week-old company that absolutely sold out of their stock at the Shrewsbury Food Festival, and I've been fanboying about these guys for a long time. Now, yesterday I went to grab one of the best pork bap you can buy in Shrewsbury, which is the Butcher's in Coleham. If you're feeling peckish and you want something that's of a monolithic level, huge, like these pork baps are fantastic. Make sure you go and get one. But their scratchings were there. We then went to the football. We lost. We went for a couple of pints at Brooklands pub, and the scratchings were there too. These guys are everywhere. I love them to bits. I think it's going to be an amazing story for them. So make sure you tune into next week's podcast because that's their story. Right, guys, I'm not going to chat for too long. This has been a long one. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.